Welcome on in, everybody, to a new edition of the WyoNation Roundup. I am your host, Chad Smith, and I am joined by two co-hosts tonight. First, Mr. Brad Reed. Good evening, Brad.
Howdy there.
And on the bottom there, Mr. Bryan Stevens with his awesome UW neon light in the background.
Howdy, howdy.
So it is a football bye week, but there is plenty to talk about. We have hoops, we have wrestling, we have all kinds of football news, and then we have other things related to a release that one Mr. Tom Berman released yesterday. But we'll mention that, but probably won't get into it. But yes, plenty to talk about. So what do you guys think? Should we talk a little basketball first? I know Brian's like, yes.
Brian chomping at the bit to talk some hoops.
Yeah, I'm all over it, man. I got notes and everything.
All right, well, we'll start there. So Wyoming opened up their basketball season on Monday night with a 108-85 win over Concordia St. Paul, which is a Division II school. Very weird how college basketball works. So for Wyoming, it counts as a regular season game, but for Concordia, it was an exhibition.
Yeah, and you have the option if you're playing down a league to count it or not.
Okay.
And same if you're playing up a league to count it or not.
Okay.
But each team only gets a certain allotted number of exhibition games depending on how big their schedule is.
Sure. Yeah, so that's why. But it's just a funny little caveat that for us it counts and for them it doesn't. Brad's like, I've learned.
I did.
Yeah, it was a fun game.
Most certainly when you score over 100.
It's certainly an odd starting lineup, and it was uncomfortably close for the first half, but they got into the second half, and good Lord, Scotty Abube took over.
Yeah, I think it was something like 16 points in 6 minutes or something crazy.
So he was in for 12 minutes. He had 16 points, a couple boards, a couple blocks, but like 12 of those points came on dunks.
Yeah.
He is doing exactly what we wished we'd have seen from our bigs over the last several years. He was backing people down and throwing it down. He wasn't trying to finesse it in. He wasn't trying to get cute with it. He had a really good jump hook too, which was nice to see. But he was dominant when he was in.
Well, he scored 19 points in 10 minutes. I mean, that's a pretty good 10-minute stretch for most basketball players, any basketball player really.
Yeah.
Yeah, they had nobody that could contain him. He was so much bigger than everyone else.
And that is one of the main reasons they got him, right? Because if you look at his advanced stats, when he did play at, was it Southern Illinois, right?
Yeah, he didn't play much because he wasn't in great shape from what we heard. And we're still hearing from him and from the coaches that they'd like to get him in a little better shape to be able to play more minutes. But if you stretch it out to him being a 30-minute a game player, he was like one of 3 guys in the country that would be a 20 and 10 points per game, rebounds per game guy.
Yeah. So impressive for sure. Yeah, I thought for you the starting lineup was odd. They didn't last very long, right? And
no,
made some
and
changes.
Wicks came out and said, he's probably going to have a new starting lineup every game. He wants to keep the other team guessing. He wants to keep our team guessing. And
okay,
these are all new guys. We got 4 returning scholarship, 4 returning players, and like none of them have played with each other before. So he's going to be mixing it up quite a bit, from what I understand.
I didn't hear him say that, so that's very interesting to know. I guess
we had 2 bench guys that one had 24 minutes, one had 25 minutes. Like that's pretty good for a bench guy. Pretty good night.
It's really nice to see the amount of depth that they've got on the basketball team this year. Like there are guys like Toko Tanmo was a defensive liability against Concordia St. Paul, where in the first game he went off. He was the leading scorer. He was the leading rebounder. He did a hell of a job. So when he was having an off night, we had other people we could put in. Abu Magasa had a really good game. Scotty came in, had a really good game. So it's going to be really interesting to watch the team this year.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I guess, Brian, from your perspective, how much can we take away from this game, being that just the quality of the two teams and the two schools is, huge.
Well, a couple of things. Number one, we know that Wyoming's going to work it inside, first and foremost. They've got shooters. We've got guys that can stroke the three. Obi Agmem is fast. He is really fast. He's quicker than Cott, and Cott was super fast. So he's going to be fun to watch. He was driving the rim and shooting from outside. AJ Willis looked really good, but they're trying to get into the post. They're throwing oops to Koyanets. They're throwing oops to Avuve. Dynamo was the leading scorer of the first game. So that's what we're going to see on offense. On defense, we're looking a little rough still. Lots of offensive rebounds allowed in the second half. The positioning wasn't bad, save a few times. It's just, the ball bounces the wrong way from time to time. But they cleaned up the perimeter defense in the second half. Concordia St. Paul had a guy that couldn't miss. And that's just the way things go sometimes. Like, the defense wasn't terrible on him in the second half. Could have been a little tighter, but it wasn't too bad. But I'm a little concerned that when we get into teams that have more people that can score on a regular basis, it might get a little ugly.
Okay, so do you think they'll combat that by trying to play at a faster tempo and getting more possessions?
No, I think it's all going to do with the defensive rotations.
Mm-hmm.
I think when it comes down to it, it's going to be who are the best five on the floor for whatever the situation demands. If you've got like Tennessee State coming up, they've got Josh Ugandele, 7 foot, 280 pounder that played at Iowa for the last few years. That's a big target in the middle, and they're going to be counting on him to get some points. So I would expect to see more of Oleg and Scotty and not so much of Toko because those two are the bigger bodies.
Mm-hmm.
Scotty also one of the more active defenders that we've seen in the post in a long time. Light on his feet, going for the block quite a bit. Does have a bit of a temper. Which is, it's good. Like, you want guys to be passionate on the floor, but you also don't want them to get teed up. So we'll see how that goes as the season goes on.
Okay, so go ahead, Brad.
28% from three is probably not going to cut it either. That's not great. Got to clean that up a little bit.
Yeah, well, you had guys like Deontay Allen who went ham in the exhibition game that just, sometimes shooters go cold.
One for 6 is pretty cold.
Yeah, it's pretty cold. But we saw guys like Drake Jeffries do that, and he was a 45% 3-point shooter.
Mm-hmm.
Like, some nights you're just off.
Yeah, it seems like we're only going to have 2 guys who are going to be legitimate threats on a regular basis from 3, being Allen and Agmem. Do you agree with that?
No, I'd say Nigel Cook can do it. From what I understand right now, his defense isn't where it needs to be, but he's a hell of a shooter. Nesbitt's going to be a guy that'll be on too. He wasn't scoring much against Concordia St. Paul, but he had 16 rebounds.
Yeah.
Coming from a wing player, that's insane.
Mm-hmm. Getting back to Cook, I don't think he played at all in the exhibition game, and then he only played 2 minutes here. Do you think it's just mainly a defensive thing, or Sundance is the coaches like, hey, if you can't do the bare minimum on defense, you're not going to play?
Well, there's a few reasons. Number one, he's 18. It's his second year in the program, and he just turned 18.
Oh, okay. Wow. That's young. Yeah.
He's a young kid. So it's going to take him some time to get going. And yeah, number two, I think he's got to be better on defense. And that's, when we did our interview with him at Media Days, that's what he said he wanted to do. He wanted to be a 3-and-D guy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's a good plug there. So if you haven't seen any of Bryan's interviews, head on over to the YouTube channel, and we got 4 of them posted there. Mm-hmm. Let's see. The first one was Toku, right? And then we had Nigel.
No, it was Court, Nigel,
Court.
Toko,
Yeah.
and
Court
then
was first.
Pat Stacy.
And then the last one Monday, which is great. New basketball GM from Wyoming, Pat Stacy, he's really there more of a analytics guy type of GM.
Yeah, analytics and roster building. From what we heard, we're gonna try to get him on here at some point to talk to us because he's got some really interesting things to say.
There was 100%. One part of
100%.
that interview where I definitely had like a Moneyball flashback.
Yeah.
Like he said something about one of the players they recruited, and they're like, let me tell you about this guy. He was one of 3 players in all of college basketball last season. It's like, oh yeah, he's out here recruiting a first baseman too.
Yeah. No, that's he was talking about Scotty. Like,
yep.
That's who he was talking about.
Same thing. They said similar things about Dante Allen. He was like one of 4 players in the country who, I don't know, was like 6'3" with shot this many percentage from 3.
He was one of 6 players in the country that was 6'6" and shot over 45% from 3 or something like that, or 40%. Yeah. So another 3-point threat is going to be Kobe Newton. Kobe Newton looked really freaking good against Concordia St. Paul. He was active on defense, shooting pretty well on offense. He was pretty solid.
All right. So I know you, in the preseason, you did a bunch of scouting. I know the season's new, but what can you tell us about Tennessee State?
Yeah, Tennessee State. So they have 1 returning player. Their entire roster turned over, so worse than ours.
So yeah,
the only guy they've got coming back is a 6'4" guard named Newt Wood, and he only saw garbage time last year. So really no returning production at all.
Okay.
Their big get was, we mentioned him before, Josh Ugandele. He's a 7-foot senior out of London, played at Iowa from 20 to 23. Came to Middle Tennessee State last year. He's never started a game, but he's a guy that they want to depend on just for, 7 foot, 275. That's a guy you want to feed the ball to. I don't care who you're playing.
It's a big boy.
Okay. And have they played a game yet?
I don't know. Let me check their schedule.
I know they play CSU, I think, tonight, right?
I think that's right.
So that might be the first
game. They played Fisk. I have no idea what school Fisk is.
What the hell is that?
Fisk, that sounds like I don't know.
Yeah, it looks like Justin McNelkin was their leading scorer. Shot 4 for 7 from 3, 6 of 12 from overall. So most of his shots came from 3. He had 16 points. Not a lot of rebounding. Oh, no, never mind. That was Fisk. Sorry.
Wow.
Ronald Jessamy. Looks like he was their big player. I'm pulling the roster back up on the screen. Sorry.
This is amazing. I'm just looking at the Fisk University website.
Okay. Yeah, where is it?
Nashville.
Nashville. Okay.
Viva Nash Vegas.
And they got to be like
Nash
NAIA
Vegas
or something, right?
They got to be what?
Are they like NAIA? Are they like Division II? What are they? On-air live research, folks.
Well, on-air live research. We are talented and capable.
Oh
wow.
Well, Brad's looking at this.
They are NAIA, and they play in the Gulf Coast Athletic Conference.
All right.
Wow.
Anyway, back to Tennessee State. They take a lot of shots from 3.
Okay.
Out of 30 field goals in the first half, half of them were 3-pointers. Out of 36 in the second half, 16 of them were 3-pointers.
Wow.
And they don't shoot it well.
Okay.
They went 9 for 31 from distance. Looks like their guy that's shooting all of them and not making any is Justice Jackson, transferring from UT Martin in Hawaii before that. So we can expect, he looks like he's the point guard, so we can expect to see him quite a bit. Another guy that was shooting quite a bit from downtown is Carlos Williams. Looks like he's a swing man. He came over from Tulsa. 6'5", 230.
Okay. So just looking up the game time, that is going to be Sunday, 2 p.m. at the AA, and the game will be on the Mountain West Network online.
Yes, and it is a gold out. So if anybody's going to the game, wear gold.
Okay.
Sure, Wyoming fans on a piece or two of that.
And then just in case we don't have another show by then, which we may not, probably not because there's no football this weekend, obviously. Then next Wednesday, the 13th, is the big game at Texas Tech. So,
yeah, that one, every player I talk to, that's one that they've got circled.
Jeff Thunder revenge game.
Not even necessarily for that, just because Texas Tech's a good school. You know, they won 23-11 last year. They lost in the first round to North Carolina State. San Jose State almost got them at home last year, which is odd. They ended up winning that one 56-42.
So it's kind of a measuring stick game, and that game's going to be on ESPN Plus.
Yeah, their top two players from last year, they lost both of them. Joe Toussaint graduated, and Pop Isaacs went to Creighton. But they did get the reigning Mountain West Freshman of the Year, JT Toppin. So if you'll remember that Nigel Cook interview, I was asking him, it was going to be weird seeing him on the sidelines. Did he ask you to come over there? And he's like, apparently he still has good relationships with the players that are still at Wyoming. So they're excited to see him, and they don't think it'll be weird seeing him on the other sideline at all. So it'll be interesting to see the dynamic.
Yeah. It will be interesting, and I'm sure that'll be half of the commentary on the game.
Yeah.
Without that.
Player to watch for Texas Tech is, other than JT Toppin, is Darian Williams. He's their leading returning scorer and rebounder, and he shoots 46% from three.
Yeah. I remember him from the tournament game. Yeah, he's good.
He's very good. I'll be curious to see who gets manned up on him for Wyoming.
Mm-hmm. So 2 basketball games coming after a 1-0 start. I guess we will. Do we take any token into the most field goals made in the AA by Wyoming with 45? Set a record that was last set in 1989.
It's a lot of field goals.
Yeah.
But yeah, everybody should watch the highlights. Just the second half was crazy.
Just following along on Twitter, there was a lot of Annie dunked again.
Yeah.
There was one I was pretty sure the hoop was going to come down.
That'd be something.
He's a big boy, and he was hanging on it like Shaq, man. Like he was not nice to it.
All right. Any final words on basketball that you're kind of interested in? Maybe something for people to look out for?
Tennessee State's going to be a pretty good measuring stick. They were 18-15 last year. They lost everybody, so it's kind of a mirror image of what Wyoming is. Very similar standings, very similar transfer issues. So it'll be interesting to see how the two teams match up.
Who reconstructed their roster the best?
Yeah. And I mean, we hired a guy specifically for that. So hopefully it's Wyoming.
Did Tennessee State have a coaching turnover, or was that just attrition?
It was just attrition.
Oof, that's tough.
Yeah. Yeah, brutal stuff. They might have lost an assistant or two. I didn't notice, but
yeah, they're Ohio Valley too, so that's one of those probably conferences where teams get picked apart pretty easily.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So Tennessee State will be a good measuring stick. Texas Tech will be a good measuring stick for number one, playing a tournament team, which we're going to play a lot of when it comes to conference play.
Yeah.
And number two, seeing how this team looks on the road. It's pretty rough to have that as your first road game, but we'll see how it goes.
Yeah. As you said, we're starting over and Sundance wants to make them uncomfortable,
Mhm.
and that will certainly do it.
Mm-hmm.
Just to see how they can go. Yeah, I'll just mention the first part of that docuseries came out a couple of weeks ago. I'm kind of surprised we haven't seen the second part, but you kind of see what he was talking about. Something that sticks out to me, and now seeing a game, and now seeing like the way he was like really getting on dudes, and seeing that documentary. And in the interview he had with Keith, he said, "Hey, the biggest thing was it's hard to like keep these guys going, and you really have to like get up into their grill." And you saw that a couple times when guys just didn't do defense. He was calling timeouts and dragging them straight off the court and telling them, "Hey, that's not acceptable." So,
Yeah,
and
but he
again, that's
wasn't.
what you saw in the
He
second half,
wasn't
right?
even really tearing into him though. He was
Well,
like
sure, you
he
know
was
what I
just
mean, though.
trying to get under,
Yeah.
like
Tough coaching.
get him to hustle.
Yeah, no, yeah, he wasn't like belittling them or anything like that, but I mean, he was animated,
Yeah.
which is fine.
You got to match his juice, or you're not there.
That's true. So, yeah, I don't know. That's the other thing too, is right. It's just such a different coaching style and coaching energy. Hopefully
Yeah.
these guys will take to it, because he has their best, like, right, their best peace of mind and their best play in mind.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's got their best interest at heart for sure.
Yeah. All right, very good. So yeah, we'll have more to talk about obviously once we start playing Division I teams, and yeah, I think Tennessee State will be interesting. Brad, you looks like you have a thought.
Oh no, I was just thinking at least this was a D2 team and not an NAIA team.
There we go. Yeah. All right, next up, and this is in Mr. Brad's wheelhouse, but the wrestling team will be having their first home duel of the season before they go on the road for a long, long time.
Yeah, I don't think we've really chatted, since the home opener last week against Campbell. That was Thursday night. The Cowboys came away with a really nice win over in Cheyenne. They had some guys kind of really step up. They had a freshman, Eddie Knightenbach, pull off what I would probably say is a big upset in his match, a 12-0 major decision. That's
against a ranked wrestler, right?
Yeah, as a true freshman. I don't know if he's a true freshman or redshirt, but yeah, that was awesome. Jory Volk got a nice win against a ranked opponent. That was kind of a wild match to start the duel with. Having the number 2 wrestler in the country, just having an absolute dogfight with Anthony Moulton. And I think he came into the duel ranked like 13 at the time, and he was a good wrestler. So Jory had his hands full there. Then the Campbell heavyweight, man alive, that guy is a monster. That was not a very close match. He had a 20-5 tech fall in a little over 3 periods. He was good. But yeah, I think we had a couple of pins in there. One from Stockton O'Brien, one from Joey Novak. Those were really nice pins, and the Stockton O'Brien pin, man, that was a really nice one too. So I don't know. That was a great way to start the season. I think Campbell's going to be a pretty solid team. Their coach is already wanting a rubber match since Campbell took the duel last year and Wyoming took the duel this year. So it'll be interesting to see what Mark Branch comes up with for, a wrestling duel somewhere, somehow. But yeah, so good win for the Cowboys. They're going to go against Western Wyoming this weekend.
Correct. Yes.
So yeah, in Western Wyoming, they dueled them last year, and I think it's a good way to kind of expose the larger Wyoming wrestling community to more Wyoming wrestlers. A lot of guys that competed in Wyoming high school. So
Mm-hmm.
I don't expect that it'll be a particularly close duel, but I think Western's probably got a few guys that are going to be pretty talented, and the team itself is no slouches. They're really good in their division of wrestling. So, but yeah, home duel this weekend, and it's going to be like you said, it's going to be a hot minute before they're back in Laramie. They so they got Western Wyoming this weekend. Then they go on the road against the Oklahoma schools towards the end of or middle of the month or so, and they're not back at home until looks like January 24th against Utah Valley. So yeah, good chance to get out and see the Cowboys this weekend and see a few wrestlers that your kids probably competed against pretty recently, and be a desert of wrestling until January.
Also, I heard a few people that went to the event at Frontier Days, and great job to Frontier Days for setting that up.
Super cool. Really cool venue.
Everything I heard, it was really well put together.
Great.
Yeah. If the weather in Cheyenne was a little more predictable, it could have been outside instead of inside, but unpredictable Cheyenne weather, I guess.
As is the entire state of Wyoming.
And Montana, for that matter.
Yeah.
Could be rain, could be snow. We don't really know.
Especially in late October. So, yeah. So, there we go. So, there is your wrestling report. We'll see how they do this weekend. I'm sure they'll coast on by. But as you said, it's a good kind of a community and kind of like a local wrestler type of thing. I think to build some goodwill and then maybe, right, get a connection to that program. If they ever get a guy who is of D1 level, that he can, right, you have that relationship to get him to come right over.
Yeah. Yep.
All right. Football's in a bye week. Coming off our second win of the season. Bryan and I had a nice post game.
Mm-hmm.
And but like mixed feelings, right? Because we won, but there's just all kinds of problems where the coaching staff just doesn't want to fix them. So we're in a bye week. I think they only practice maybe twice this week. The coaches are on the road right now recruiting.
I think they were off Monday, Tuesday, if I remember right.
And so that's what I want to talk about now. Is some old recruiting.
To be fair, though, the coaching staff did make one change that seems to have been a positive one. So
they did, and we can get to that first. So obviously, Caden Anderson, 2 pretty major awards this week. First, Mountain West Freshman of the Week, and then the big one is, how about the Manning Award Quarterback of the Week in his first start, by the way.
Yeah, that's huge. That's huge for I think that's probably a huge boost of morale for the team and a huge boost of morale for Caden, obviously. Walking into your first start and just owning the place.
And Coach Salvell did come out and say they're sticking with him for the rest of the year. They said that Swoboda will be a big part of the team. I don't know
whatever that means.
He's going to be playing a different position, or he's going to be coming in on spot duty. But Anderson's the guy.
Mm-hmm.
Well, he shouldn't be coming in spot duty anymore because he has no skills other than running the ball. So I wouldn't mind him coming in, but you have to keep, for it to work, you have to keep Caden back there. Now, if you have Caden and then Swoboda lined up as a running back, or maybe in like side by side and shotgun, you might be able to do some creative things offensively that would keep people off track. But bringing in Swoboda basically in a wildcat, it hasn't worked once. And they've tried it 3 times.
If they would run something, putting the giant quarterback under center, maybe they'd have better success.
We'll that too, right? And I think it was Brad who was opining that on the internet and was getting a little pushback from a media member. But putting guys in shotgun or pistol on 4th and inches, it's the dumbest thing you can do, in my opinion.
I'll die on that hill.
But again, it's not just a Wyoming thing. It's You see it in the pros. You see it all through college football.
It's an epidemic across college football. It happens all the time.
I'm not aware of any analytics that say that you get more yards from the shotgun.
Oh, so I'm sure they're out there, and lying with statistics is definitely a thing.
Oh yeah.
But so many coaches only run out of shotgun.
Freaking love it. They're addicted to it.
Only run out of shotgun. Their quarterback is never under center, and they think that their way is the best way, and they're never gonna change.
Who's the Dave Chappelle character that's like, addicted to crack and like scratching his face and whatever? I feel like the college football coaches can be like that too. Like, hey, you got any more of those shotgun runs?
Yeah. RPO.
Give some RPO.
And
one thing that really bothered me that I saw in Jay Saville's press conference this week, I think it was maybe Cody or Alex, I don't remember. One of them asked Saville about why we decided to kind of bag it right before half and just run out the clock when we had a minute at midfield with 3 timeouts. And he said something like, well, we did that last week and it ended in an interception. It's like, well, yeah, but you fixed that problem. Yeah. So why wouldn't you do that? Like that gave you a chance for a 2-score lead heading into halftime.
I wanted to bring up a couple of those. So that's a good one. He said, well, I didn't go for it because the week before we threw an interception. And I go, well, yeah, because you're playing a quarterback who can't throw.
He stared his receiver down and the guy jumped in front of it at your own 30-yard line. Like, yeah, that's a problem you just fixed.
Sure. So he needs to understand that. And again, his decision-making, I think, is pretty awful for a head coach. And I don't think that's something that can get fixed, right? You don't see coaches all of a sudden turning it around. You're either a good decision-maker as a coach who can manage a game, can evaluate talent, or you can't.
I think it's one of those things that you learn with a lot of coaching experience, like head coaching experience. And
yeah,
Jay's a first time head coach. And I think, if you're in a coordinator position, you either don't have to think about those decisions or you're up, on the press box or on the sideline with, a sheet in your hand and you're just like, I wouldn't have done that. But then you find yourself in that position where you have to do that and you probably just make the wrong decision, whatever. And it feels like one of those things where you have to like go through that, get fired, and then get rehired as a head coach, later on in your career. And you all of a sudden are just like, well, what I did in my last life was really stupid. And here I am in my next job. And this seems to be a lot easier. And I make a lot better decisions now.
Yeah.
I'm sure a lot of head coaches out there have probably experienced that. So I think I would probably lean a lot of Saville's bad decisions on just complete inexperience in this particular position. Like, maybe it's something where he'll take an off season, reflect, and be like, yeah, I could have made a lot better decisions there that I'm never going to admit to these media people that roast me on podcasts and internet and whatever. So, maybe year 2 decision-making will improve and things will get better. I don't know.
Well, we already know.
We're being optimistic for once. I don't know.
That's fine because we know Bryan's opinion.
Man, if this were any program but Wyoming, there is no way in hell we would see him back next year. Not a chance.
Well, to be fair, Florida did announce today that Billy Napier is coming back, and I think Florida fans would argue that they are probably at near riot status with the condition of their program right now.
True.
And I guess that'll be one thing we lean into later, Chad. Why decisions like Billy Napier are being made right now.
It's
but
an off-season type of topic, which is approaching rapidly.
I would say that the days of 1 year and done on college football coaches is probably very quickly coming to an end.
Yeah. Billy Napier's 4-4 this year, though. Like,
yeah. Florida fans should think they should be 8-0.
Yeah. Who's he lost to? Miami, Texas A&M, Tennessee, Georgia. These are all top 25 teams. These are all top 20 teams.
And Florida people think they should be in the top 20 with them.
So do Nebraska people. How's that working for them since 1995?
I don't know, Chad. How's that working?
To get back onto the train, the Wyoming train.
Chad doesn't want to talk about Nebraska.
No, this is not a Huskers podcast. All right.
You can just say that Dylan Raiola is not Patrick Mahomes.
Well, not yet, at least. So the biggest red flag was after the game, Savell, in his post-game press conference, was basically like, well, I didn't make the quarterback move earlier because Craig Bowl told me that Evan Svoboda is really good, was basically what he said.
Yeah.
And that Evan Svoboda, tools, all the stuff. Craig Bowl told me, no, well, Craig Bowl's not here. I don't care what Craig Bowl said because, again, Craig Bowl's evaluation of quarterbacks,
not great.
Pretty bad over 10 years.
I mean, it went well for him twice.
Well, yeah.
In his career.
Exactly. We've had like 2 good quarterbacks under, well, 3, I would say. I'd give him 3. He did get Peasley in, Josh Allen, and then Cam Kaufman. We're his 3 best quarterbacks who played under Bull for us.
Yeah. No, I was going to give him Carson Wentz in North Dakota as well.
Oh, okay.
Well, Brock Jensen was really good too.
Yeah.
North Dakota State. But.
Well, that's a different level. I'm talking D1, right? And it is a completely different kettle of fish. But as you said, the most important thing is they finally figured out that they made the switch. Hopefully we don't see any more of this cameo stuff. Just let Caden play. And we could put this in our rearview mirror, but it just shows that, I just really rubs me the wrong way where he's like, well, Craig Bowl told me that Evan's really good and I had to do all I could to keep him and play him. Oh, boy.
I'm honestly shocked. You guys, I watched the post game, but that's been like 3 days ago. But I'm honestly shocked that the Cowboys were able to go score for score with like one of the top offenses in the country.
Yeah.
Like that to me was amazing. And I'm not even sure that would have happened. That kind of game would have happened under Craig Bowl.
No,
like,
I wouldn't have.
I don't remember the Cowboys ever being in like a score for score shootout with a team like this.
UNLV.
Oh God.
Josh Allen at UNLV, triple overtime. That game was 60-something to 60-something.
That game was horrible for a lot of reasons. It was fun, but horrible. Yeah. Okay. So once.
Yeah. So off week, of course. And then next week is the border war. And so we'll get into that next week when we flip the page. But what I really wanted to talk about, let me get this.
Also, we only have basically 2 more chances to keep the boot in Laramie for probably the foreseeable future. Like, it might be okay if they like don't win this year, but next year they have to win the sheep and keep the boot because
at home. Yeah.
If we can keep that boot in Laramie for years, and who knows how often the border will get played, once the sheep move over to the Pac 3 or 8 or 7, I don't know what they are.
Can we just acknowledge that the Pac still doesn't have enough football schools to be a conference? And who in the hell are they going to be able to get? There's not a lot of schools west of the Rockies.
Well, I saw something today that like they're like looking heavily at like Texas State and like New Mexico State or something. Yeah,
so the rumor is Texas State, New Mexico State, and I forget the third school. UTSA, I think. But I don't think they're going to make the move. So I think at the
UTSA's got a pretty good gig right now.
It is a dreamland. All right, here we go. This is...
God, can you imagine recruiting New Mexico State into your conference?
Where I want to get into, and I'll blow this up a little. But we're talking about the future of this program. And so I did some research, and actually Cody at 7220 Sports had an article not too long ago where Savell was talking about recruiting. And Savell's plan for this year is he wants to sign a class of 35. Well, if you look at this here, we've had all kinds of decommits. We are at November 7th. We are, 6 weeks away from signing day? We have 10 football commits. And that's because,
to be fair, we're 6 weeks away from early signing day.
yes, which is where everybody signs. Like 90% of players sign.
Nowadays, yeah.
So it is basically the signing day. Other guys sign afterwards, but those are guys who are like academically questionable, guys who really can't make up their minds. So I've never seen Wyoming in a situation like this where we only have 10 commitments and they want to sign a class of 35. So they need 25 more players. But this is the class to date. Obviously, the ones that stick out is here, Mason Drube, quarterback at Gillette. I don't know how he's gotten on this year. I haven't looked at his stats or anything.
He is good, man.
Yeah, he's having a really good year.
Okay, that's good to hear. And then
he's got no one to throw it to at Gillette.
Mm-hmm. Well, they'll almost be a good he'll be used to it then when he comes to Wyoming, won't he?
Yeah. That kid's legit.
Okay. And then this Samuel Harris is a running back, again, a little on the small side, but very productive down in Texas. And then a bunch of other guys. So these are all freshmen. So I just wanted to show that is that we have 10 commits. We've lost like 5 commits in the past couple weeks.
A significant number to Washington State.
Yeah.
Like it seems like Jake Dickert's just coming over and saying, "Oh, you wanted to play for Wyoming? Come up here.
Come play for Wyoming 2.0."
Yeah.
So let me stop sharing that. So this is troubling, right? Because this is when you make bad decisions, you don't win games. And if we're bringing in a class of 35, you're not going to have a high quality class. And that could potentially set your program back for years. Unless we do some things right quickly. And I don't know exactly what they can do. My guess is that for the first time since this portal era, you're going to see Wyoming lean heavy into the portal. Because that's the only way I think they're going to be able to get the numbers they want. And that is even before they want 35, even before you consider who may or may not leave in the portal on the team currently.
Mm-hmm.
If they are forced to lean into the portal, I think that will probably do more good than bad for sure.
It could, yes, if they do it right. Right? Now, this year they kind of struck out because if you look at it this way, they brought in DJ Jones. He played his 4 games. Who knows, right? Left for personal reasons we haven't heard. I'm assuming that he didn't like what was going on here and left.
Well, he was getting his ass kicked, so
that too.
I can't say I blame him.
Devin Body Jr., a guy they brought in last year in the portal. He played his 4 games, left. So it is you see some teams who do really well at it, and you see some teams who don't. And you got to walk that line. But Wyoming did have some success, right? They brought in those 2 corners, like Ja'Cory Hawkins. What was the name of the other guy? 2 SEC guys came in, did well. And I think that's the model. You find guys who are buried on depth charts, that athletically can play in the Mountain West, and that's where you got to go and look. And they may have to pull that. And I agree with Bryan. If they do it right, you may be able to upgrade your team quite a bit. Mm-hmm. But, right, we don't know because we don't know who's going to be in the portal. We don't know what kind of relationships they have. But if you go into the portal heavy and you miss, well, then you're completely – yeah. So I don't know, man. I'm not – with this coaching staff, I don't feel comfortable with the decisions they make and their evaluations of players to think that they're going to bring in a group of people who in 2 or 3 years puts Wyoming, at least back into the middle pack of the Mountain West.
They're going to be linemen next year, like badly. They're dropping like flies this year, man. We got to get some depth on the O-line. Mm-hmm. Also going to need some linebackers. Like the guys that we have, like we've got a couple freshmen that I think are going to be good on Diego and Dash Bauman, but they need a talent upgrade there.
Yeah, and then this may be not on the radar as well, but you're losing your kicker and your punter. And I can
Yeah, they've
guarantee
already
you
got their kicker. They got the kid
Yeah,
from
the-
South.
Yeah, the kicker's on the
he's
roster already.
really, really raw.
That's
I
why
mean-
he's redshirting.
John Hoyland was really raw too.
I know.
Yeah.
I know. And we'll
'Cause
see.
I
Right?
think-
Kickers are hard, but I don't know. The kid from
Didn't
Cheyenne obviously has a huge leg, but I have no idea if he's accurate. And that's
didn't Hoyland beat out like another kicker as a true freshman to like earn his spot? Like
Yeah, it was a kid from Buffalo,
It's the
I want to say.
it's a Glassock, I think it was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they're going to
I
have
mean,
to bring in an experienced kicker because you don't want to rely on a freshman, right? So they have a lot of holes to fill, and so
Yeah. Oh, they're 100% going to rely on a freshman, Chad.
Yeah.
you don't think they?
Keelan Anderson is the kicker next year.
I think
100%. He's not going to be the punter, but he will be the kicker.
Okay. Well, I don't know. I think selling a transfer kicker to come kick at 7,200 feet is the easiest sell job in the world.
Well, for a punter too. I mean,
And for a
you go out
punter,
and
yes.
grab a punter, that'd be awesome.
We'll put that up there with the easiest decision of the world on switching out quarterbacks.
Mm-hmm. So we'll see. We'll see what they do. I mean, I don't have any intel on Anderson other than he's very raw, big leg,
He's good.
but
He's
I don't know
really,
if he's.
really good.
I don't know if he's accurate. And you got to be accurate. It doesn't matter if you can kick it from 70. Same thing. It's the Evan Svoboda. He could throw it 80 yards, but if he can't get it within 10 yards of a receiver, it doesn't really do much good.
Did you guys see, speaking of decommitments, did you guys see the video circling around Twitter this week of the kid? I think he was at the Auburn game and he was there on a recruiting visit and he like decommitted from Auburn on Twitter while he was sitting there, like in the stand.
No.
Like somebody was like sitting over his shoulder and like recorded him like sending out the tweet like
What?
I'm decommitting from Auburn.
Apparently, he was not impressed with the facilities.
Well, no, this is when they were busy getting their ass kicked by Vanderbilt.
Oh.
Yeah, they like recorded him sending the tweet like right there in the stands.
Yikes.
It's a tough day.
Sounds like it. You have any thoughts on the recruiting, Mr. Reed?
No, yeah, like you, I saw the whole, we want 35 recruits this year and, November 7th here and we're barely into double digits and that seems like a pretty steep hill to climb. You certainly don't want to reach for recruits.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it kind of has that feel of like training camp bodies, like what happens in the NFL. You don't want that because that's not how you build depth. So if they don't sign 35, that's fine. Just, sign 20, 25 that are, exceptional Mountain West athletes and, build off of that.
Yeah,
The
we'll see.
interesting number to look at, though, and Chad, I'm sure you've deep dived on this, but the number of recruits that you sign on signing day and how many of them actually make it through senior day at the school that they originally signed to.
It's like low number
that's
everywhere.
probably a brutal number nowadays.
Yeah.
Like
I haven't done it
maybe
for
like
Wyoming
half
for a
dozen.
while, but I could do it. That might be a good exercise. It's not good.
Let's just
No.
go back and look at the 2022 class real quick, shall we?
Yeah, no, you want to go back to 22 or 21?
Yeah, no, 22 sounds good. We signed 18 players in 22 according to 24/7 Sports. So I'm sure a few are missing. But we've got Deshaun Woods
Gone. Yep.
Caleb Merritt is now at corner.
Mm-hmm.
Caden Becker gone.
Yep.
Wes King still there.
Starter.
Jaden Williams still there. TJ Urban, I don't think we've seen anything of him this year, have we?
I think he's on the roster still, but maybe not. I could be wrong.
Koa McIntyre.
He's on the roster.
Okay. Rex Johnson, he's still there, I think.
He's on the roster. Yeah.
Michael Janice.
Pretty sure he's gone. But
Okay. Isaac Schoenfeld is there. Caden Hawkins is there. No, Caden Hawkins left.
yeah.
He's a linebacker. L.J. Richardson, we know he's gone. Josh Dixon, pretty sure he's gone. Luke Sandy and Malik Singleton are both still there. Jaeger Philippone is gone. Carson York is gone. And Forrest Shale is still there.
So not too terrible.
Not terrible. But those are guys that are probably like redshirt juniors?
Yeah,
Right?
I guess if you look at this list, I mean, you got 1, 2, 3, 4 starting level players out of 18. Right? So it makes it really hard. But yeah, this would be a good. I might do this. I know people who follow other schools, they do this, right? Just to track like how successful people are. And I think it'd be a good exercise to track that.
Would be really interesting.
So yeah, so it's going to be a mad sprint between now and signing day to see who they pull in, how many they pull in, how talented these guys are. But I still think that they are going to have to go to the portal and use it to your advantage. Right?
Mhm.
The portal's not a bad thing for Wyoming. I think it's a great thing.
TJ Urban is no longer on the roster. Neither is Caden Becker.
Yeah, Becker's gone for sure. I know. I think Pecker actually went back to Nebraska and they moved him to tight end, if I remember correctly. And he may have even left Nebraska by now because I haven't heard his name in a while.
Yeah, I don't see Koa McIntyre's still there. Okay.
Yeah. So, yeah, very interesting. Very interesting. So, yeah, lots to talk about. So, thank you, everybody, for joining us tonight for a little off-week Wyoming Athletics talk. We'll be back into the swing next week. We'll have basketball to talk about. We'll have the border war to talk about, which, again, remember, is on a Friday this year, or once again. I think this is like the 3rd or 4th year in a row, right? It's been on a Friday.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, so next week we'll have just as much to talk about, if not more. And so, I thank you two boys for joining me tonight. And, yeah, everybody head on over to the website. If you haven't gotten to those basketball interviews, they're all posted there. And, yeah, we'll be back sometime next week to preview the border war and talk about some basketball. And then Friday night after the border war will be a post-game show for sure. So, which should be very spirited.
I will be in Fort Collins, so you guys have fun.
All right. You're going to the game.
Oh, yeah.
Nice. Very nice.
Make sure to stay out of those fat tires while you're there.
Yeah.
Or get into them. I don't care.
All right. All right, everybody. Thank you for tuning in, and we'll catch up with you real soon.